That's never really been the case before. It's been quite hard to prove that one has been discriminated against in the workplace because there hasn't actually been a legal framework to do that. There's been no legal provision. Whereas now, at least that's in place. Lesbian and gay employees will have recourse to the law.
In the short term, many people just want the discrimination to stop. They want for their lives to be normal and safe, and that's a very reasonable expectation. But I would encourage individuals to look also at the bigger picture and to take formal action.
Diversity is not just about employees and managers and the company. I think there are a lot of other people who can contribute to diversity within the organisation.
If there are equal opportunities advisors, if there's a trade union rep, if there's a harassment advisor in your workplace, if you've got a sympathetic manager that you trust, I think it's really important that you go and talk to them.
Discrimination can happen accidentally or through thoughtlessness, and harassment can be unintentional.
Unless you walk into a room and go, "Hi, I'm gay," they're not going to know, and so inadvertently they say things to you about you without realising.
Once you've made people aware of the problem, they may be able to sort things out through changes in policies and procedures, or even providing equal opportunities training. You may be able to use the legislation to improve your own situation, or change the culture within the organisation.
Ultimately, the culture within organisations has got to change to stop people experiencing homophobia at work or harassment at work because of sexual orientation. It shouldn't be the case now that anybody should experience those things at work at all, that people should be valued at work because of their skills and the diversity that people bring to their workplace.
So if you're discriminated against or harassed, what should you do? You need to think very carefully about the right course of action for you.
People have problems at work, they should try to resolve them informally at work. Litigation should be a last resort, not a first resort. And if they have trade unions or employees' representatives, they should try to resolve them at work by, for instance, putting in agreements.
You may have access to a local law centre, and the National Law Centres Federation has a website. You can find further information and more contact details on this DVD.
There are 58 law centres in England and Wales. They employ barristers, community workers, solicitors and caseworkers, provide free, impartial legal advice.
Where else can you go? Trade unions, the Citizens Advice Bureau or workplace support groups can all offer advice and support.
Within the workplace, I would say if anybody did suffer discrimination, the best thing they could do is to approach their trade union, for support, advice, as individual staff members may not know their position, they may not know the policies. The trade union reps would be able to take them on, they'd be able to assist them through the case, provide the support, put them in touch with people who are able to help, and hopefully resolve the situation.
We have a representative body for the gay community called PROUD, and that helps the union to deliver training which is both factual about things like legislation, but it's also about the cultural issues and how to handle and resolve difficulties in the workplace.
A colleague came to me seeking support as she was suffering discrimination because she was lesbian, and she was having to have meetings with management and this person, and although she didn't want me to attend the meetings, she wanted me to be there from a union side to give her support as she needed it before, during and after the meeting.
Subject to the advice you receive, there may be things you can do to resolve the situation. It's important to keep a diary of events. Make sure you record the names of the people who were present and the date, time and location of any incidents.
I think it's really important for you to write down any incidents, when they happened, who was the witness, what was said, and just log them, because that will help you to catalogue and have evidence if you want to make a more formal complaint, for example.
You could challenge the behaviour. Tell the person harassing you that what they're doing is illegal and you want it to stop. Only do this if you feel confident enough to do so. Be calm and assertive, but don't bully the person you are speaking to. It may be useful to have a trade union representative or another workplace friend present when you do so.
You do it when you're not angry. I think it's really important that you do it when you're really calm, that you've maybe rehearsed the scenario of what you're going to say, and stick to your ground. So if they come back and say, oh, this is your problem, or you're being too sensitive, or oh, come on, I didn't mean it, or I was only having a joke, say, well, that may be, you know, accept what you're saying, but actually I found it offensive. It made me feel uncomfortable. You know, the effects of what you said made me feel less included, you know, less respected than my other colleagues.
You could tell your manager or talk to human resources about what is happening. Put the facts carefully into writing, either in an email or a letter, and keep a copy. Once they're made aware of the situation, your employer is required by law to take action to stop the discrimination.
If somebody did act against our policy, we would certainly investigate it. And if we found that it was unacceptable behaviour, then that really does fall into the realms of our disciplinary procedure. And it very much depends about how severe the action was. But the important thing is we don't brush these things under the carpet, no matter how junior or senior the person is who's perpetrating it.
I've had one case of harassment of a gay man, which we resolved by working with the HR professional. We interviewed him, interviewed the person he accused of harassing him, and some of the other staff who were witnesses and who had been involved. When we'd done that, we then looked at the policies and procedures of the organisation and recognised that some of those needed to change to prevent that situation arising again. They led to a culture change, which was fed by a shift in the induction training.
If talking to your manager or HR department does not solve the problem, you can raise a written grievance through your organisation's grievance procedure. All workplaces are required to have a grievance procedure. You have a legal right to be accompanied by a trade union rep or a work colleague at any hearing that might result.
Once the internal processes have been completed, then they have the right to go to the employment tribunal if they're firstly not satisfied with the outcome, or they feel that the appropriate action has not been taken.
It may be that they are unable to use internal processes to get a resolution that they're happy with. It may be that an organisation's policies and procedures are so clearly unlawful, so blatantly in breach of the law, that there is no other option.
Well, I went to see the head teacher several times about the abuse I was getting from a handful of boys. Most of them were really fine about it. Once they got used to it, not a problem. But there was a hardcore who were openly abusing me in class, calling me all sorts of names. I went to see the head several times, said, look here, this isn't getting any better. I'm going to take advice from the union, and his response was to call me in the next day. No, Nigel, I don't think your teaching's going very well at the moment. I don't think we need you on Monday. So I spoke to the NUT, made an appointment to see one of their senior solicitors, who was very positive about the idea of taking action, explained that it would take quite a while and that it hadn't been done before, but I wanted to see how far the law would protect me.
So if you are still being discriminated against, you can consider legal action and think about making a claim at a tribunal. So what exactly are tribunals?
The employment tribunals sit in approximately 25 different venues across the country. They are there mainly to hear cases in relation to employment matters, and that includes discrimination.
They are not a court of law as such, but they are very similar to courts of law, but not as formal. So, for example, none of the parties or the panel that is hearing the case will wear wigs or gowns.